Good afternoon, I am Adventure Argonaut and this is the Golden News. I'm early today with the news because, well, I don't know, I got the opportunity to, I got most of my setup done for the stream already, so let's get to it. First have to see that the streams are working, of course. So I bring you the news and all that. Like last couple of weeks, it had been a bit slower with news, but not this week. We have, I don't know, very big news. Um, so let's see. Let's go here. So let's start off with, and yeah, one thing I didn't have time to make the titles, but I have the images. So this is about new Epstein emails released about, well, there's all sorts of info, but the most interesting thing is about Trump and Bubba, of course. So let's have a look of that. All right. So Jeffrey Epstein asked his brother Mark Epstein whether Putin has photos of Trump blowing Bubba, which is Clinton's nickname, Bill Clinton's. You and your boy Donnie can make a remake of the movie Get Hard, sent via tin can and string. Okay, that's interesting. So it's from Jeffrey Epstein to Mark L. Epstein. I mean, Donnie T. Yeah, sounds like Donald Trump. I'd rather be in Donnie D's shoes. Donnie T. Who's Donnie D? Is I don't know. I thought I had tourists. So not sure what they're talking about, but ask if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Baba. All good. Bannon with me. How are you doing? A while back you mentioned you were pre-diabetic. Has anything changed with that? What is your boy Donald up to now? And this is from 2018. So it's like a year before he died, or was it 2019 when he quote unquote killed himself? But of course, the most interesting bit here is about ask if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Baba, and people were quick to point out that Baba is the nickname of Bill Clinton. So yeah, this is just the same stuff, so no need to look into that. Now we know exactly what he meant when he said draining the swamp. I'm gonna drain the swamp, yeah. Donald Trump sucked Bill Clinton's what? Yeah, there's like a million memes about this, of course, but there's this. I advise MAGA-tards to accept the Bill Clinton theory. The alternative is worse or better. So yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell had a horse named Baba, and she owned many others whose names are not as widely known in public discussions. So is this the Baba we're talking about? And of course, like, we don't know for absolute certain that these emails are real, or even if the email was actually sent between the two Epsteins, whether this question about Putin blowing Baba, whether that's maybe it's a joke, some inside joke, could be, or then again it could be real. But somebody pointed it out on Twitter that, like, that's the funniest timeline. That no, it's not just that it's true, but that like, Trump isn't a pedo, but the reason he's against releasing the Epstein files, because it would prove that he sucked off Bill Clinton, or maybe the horse, or who, or whatever Baba is. So I choose to accept that reality. So yeah, Donald Trump, this is 2015. if Hillary Clinton can't satisfy her husband, what makes her think she can satisfy America? Now we know why he said this, indeed. But here it says Mark Epstein, so Jeffrey Epstein's brother. Bubba is not former President Bill Clinton. So kind of a wild Mark Epstein putting out press release that didn't say it wasn't true and instead just said it wasn't Clinton. So I guess Mark Epstein seems to be suggesting somebody else. You know, Trump did blow somebody else named Bubba. So is it the horse? And yeah, Donica Lewinsky, yeah, like the question that arose in my head after hearing about this, like who did it better, Monica or Donald? And was this Jeffrey Epstein in 2018? I know how dirty Donald Trump is. Yeah, his mouth is very dirty. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea. So yeah, I guess your non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip. Fixer is like somebody who fixes you with stuff, like whether it's drugs or prostitutes or something. So when the fixer flips, I guess like turns goes turncoat. It makes no difference whether it was his money. Issue is failure to disclose. Plus the fact that he has lied his ass off about makes it clear he knew it was illegal. So this is between Jeffrey Epstein and Kathy Ramier. I don't know who she is. I guess the New York Times, or maybe she's a journalist. So Jeffrey Epstein wrote, I think he makes the argument that it was Trump's money making it not illegal, though he also said he only found it out afterwards, and the fact, according to the indictment, was billed as services rendered and grossed up. I'm sure his account has flipped anyway. I did talk in detail to Star yesterday. Re-indictments, how Trump can make a deal, special counsel. Clinton's trash can, yes. Star gave me more. Yeah. Okay, I don't like the way he types. Yeah, this communication is confidential, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. Yeah, so I guess the main gist is here that Donald Trump is dirty, according to Jeffrey Epstein, assuming that this is a real email. So yeah, there's a million memes. Baba, Trump, Monica, yes. And there's of course this classic meme reimagined with lots of Bill Babas, but I think at least one of them should be a horse. Of course this one. I like his expression. Hog to and spit on that thing. Throatback mountain. Because Bill Clinton and Donald Trump used to be friends back in the 90s and stuff. Maybe more. Jeffrey Epstein says Bill Clinton never went to his island. So is this sounds like BS? So does it mean that the other emails are BS too? Yeah, okay, these stories are so from Epstein to the Duke. Who's that? These stories are completely and utter fantasy. I don't know and have never met Al Gore. Clinton was never on the island. Telephone book is not mine. It was stolen by my housemate that is currently in prison for doing so. Of course, this sounds very like defensive. Like, no, I don't know what you're talking. Yeah, Epstein would never lie, right? Yeah, this sounds like the because at least the difference between the Epstein emails, their brothers, they I guess speak more openly with each other, but this is very denying, culpability in something potentially illegal. Okay, that's just yeah. Jeffrey Epstein claimed that Hillary Clinton had a sexual relationship with former attorney and White House counsel Vince Foster. Foster committed suicide in 1993. Okay, she was that bad. So Nussbaum White House counsel Hillary doing notice with Vince. What's the thumbnail on Nussbaum Foster? Okay. Jeffrey Epstein to U.S. special envoy to Syria Tom Barak. Send photos of you and child, make me smile. Yeah, that's... Of course, this could mean, be something innocent, but I really doubt it. Yeah. So this is the guy. I don't know. Has this been investigated? Has this guy been investigated? Whether he has done something fun with children or not. Horror. Mossad agent Epstein told Ghislaine Maxwell that Donald Trump spent hours at his house with teenage victims. Israel has compromised on the sitting US president. Well, that's kind of obvious, and that, the compromise exists. Whether it's with teenage girls, younger girls, with horses, with other US presidents, that's the question, I guess. So email one is direct correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I want you to I've been thinking about that. I want you to realize that that dog hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Okay, it is not clear what they're talking about here yet. Email to is direct correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. Victim Mar-a-Lago. Okay, what's this? Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. Okay, that's... So Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. This is 2019, so this is a bit before he was arrested, right? This is 2011, so... Okay, it doesn't... I don't think it necessarily says that Trump did anything naughty, like... Yeah, like Donald Trump's, victim spent time at Donald Trump's house. That doesn't necessarily mean that, Trump did anything bad. Maybe he was, actually consoling the victim or something. Maybe he was helping. Like, you know, I don't want to accuse him of stuff without evidence. Okay, let's see this. Email 3 is a direct correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. So 2015, I think you should let him hang himself. So Michael Wolff telling Jeffrey Epstein, if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Okay, so this is before the, presidential election, of course. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. If we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in a scrum afterwards. I doubt they asked. Have they asked about that? Don't remember, it's 10 years ago. In a leaked email, Jeffrey Epstein discussed genetically engineering black people to make them smarter, discussing how whites have evolutionary pressures that rewarded long-term thinking over rapid muscle development. You might be able to make black smarter by changing the time for motor layer development and changing the time for other layers, like telomeres for the cell, and there are their equivalents for the layers. As you talked about, cutting the unused neurons in each layer. Their brains are slower at learning high-level concepts. Okay, so I'm just asking why? Why was he? Why does he care about in, increasing the IQ of black people? Uh, Jeffrey Epstein paid millions to help launch Jean-Luc Brunel's French-based MC2 model management agency with offices in New York, Miami, and Tel Aviv. Girls scouted to the agency were as young as 14. Jean-Luc Brunel committed suicide in 2022 under mysterious conditions. So Epstein reportedly gave millions to start the MC2, which opened in October 2005. Offices in New York, blah blah blah. One of the girls, Epstein, 54, was accused of soliciting messages from a desk. Was described in court documents as being just 14. E equals MC squared. Get it? Okay, like the equation E equals Epstein. He just thinks everyone is too dumb to figure it out, said a model industry insider. He's a desperate old man that fantasizes and takes advantage of young girls. Jeffrey Epstein has no ownership or involvement in our company, has Jean-Luc Brunel and I are only two partners and owners of MC2 Model Management. Jeffrey Fuller said, MC2 president, okay. Okay. And Andrew Chorba says, you have to, first let's see what this guy says. Nick Szabo, Epstein and a prominent journalist discuss how to use options of selective revelation to gain political leverage over Trump 6 months after Trump's famous ride down the escalator. If it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Okay, we already read this, like you should let him hang himself, and yeah. So Andrei Chorba says, you have to understand two things. This is how all of them think and operate, as exemplified by the highest Jewish blackmail agent to the lowest Jewish journal in this email exchange. This is what they do to almost every last one of our political, business, and cultural leaders. Yeah, but the question is why is it allowed? Like, why has it been allowed to carry on for decades? Jeffrey Epstein says he was at Trump Tower in the late 2016, just days after Donald Trump won his first presidential election, despite Trump claiming he had cut all contact with Epstein. So yeah, this is in November, so like 9 years ago, 2016. Perfect co-authored with, okay, Trump Tower. So Jeffrey Epstein said Trump Tower. You're still in Paris, Trump Tower. Okay, so this is, yeah. And will you have a cabinet position? Linda Stone asks. Well, he didn't. Spoilers, but yeah, here he at least claimed that he was in Trump Tower. Syrian girl said, breaking in the Epstein emails, he tells Landon Thomas that he has photos of Trump as his house with girls in bikinis. Also, that Epstein gave his 20-year-old girlfriend to Trump. There's also evidence Trump rode Epstein's plane to the island while he was president. Let's see. So Epstein to London. My 20-year-old girlfriend in 93, that after 2 years I gave to Donald. Okay. I'm a serious man for the good of the nation. Why not try to get some of this out there? I would not do it myself, but would pass on to a political reporter. Let's look at these lies. In response to a message left seeking the Donald Trump campaign comment on this article, on Thursday, Trump's general counsel Alan Garten emailed threatening legal action against BuzzFeed News. Mr. Trump's only connection to Mr. Epstein was that Mr. Epstein was one of the thousands of people who has visited Mar-a-Lago. That's it. Mr. Trump has never been accused of having any involvement or even having any knowledge of any Mr. Epstein's conduct by anyone, Gardner wrote. As a result, I have no idea what the purpose of your article could possibly be other than to try and intentionally and with actual malice defame my client's name and reputation by mentioning him in the same article as Mr. Epstein. In other words, suggest guilt by association. This is very definition of irresponsible and reckless journalism, and to publish such a story would be highly unethical, even by BuzzFeed's standards. Okay, so Hawaiian Tropic Girl Lauren Petrella. Yes. Okay. Well, would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen? Okay, so it's this way, of course. So now everyone coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump because of this. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump booms from his biggest phone. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them on the younger side, no doubt about it. Yeah, Jeffrey enjoys his social life, so yeah, it's very famous quote from Donald Trump. So, and then, would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen? So Jeffrey Epstein asked, yes, and there's Hawaiian tropic girl Lauren Petrella. Okay, this isn't like yeah, Donald Trump and girls in bikinis in kitchen. That's not like incriminating or anything. Let's see. So Larry Wysowski to Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey, due to staffing issues, Customs cannot use North Ramp, only pre-clear in main building. Trump is supposed to depart 4 p.m. latest 4:30. So this is 2017. Trump was already president. Okay, Monday 4 p.m. confirmed. President Trump departs Monday at 11 a.m. TFR in place until 11:30 a.m. Monday, which requires 24-hour notice for departure screening if departing during TFR hours. I don't know what is the temporary flight restriction. Okay, our departure time of 4:30 p.m. will not be impacted since TFR expires in 11:30 a.m. Monday. FYI, Friday, Josh left voicemail indicating Chevron should present purchase agreement by midnight Monday for our review. Okay, there's some Monday, blah blah blah. Going to Palm Beach, New York, Paris. Okay. I don't find these emails. Maybe I'm dumb, but they don't seem very incriminating. I guess sort of like they could be, of course, like the possibilities, but it's like nothing solid. Jeffrey Epstein, I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump, not one decent cell in his body. Okay. Okay, so from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Summers. Okay, maybe I should be smart and start from the bottom this time. So speak today, said Jeffrey. Please. So this is Larry Summers. I guess he's a journalist. Yes, in New York, actually. Please. Okay. You're a man of the people. So was this President Barack Obama kiteboards horses around Richard Branson? It's okay, he didn't wreck world and avoided scandal. What does Rumler say his attitude towards women? Carl, I've told you I met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump, yet not one decent cell in his body. Yes, so yes, dangerous. Well, I think Epstein would also be one of the worst people, but it's like, well, they seem to have been pals indeed, since Trump has been protecting people in the Epstein files. But it's like, they aren't as exciting as this comment about Trump blowing Bubba so far. So Jeffrey Epstein in newly released email said to a reporter, "Would you like photos of Donald Trump and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" Yeah, okay, this is we already went through. And convicted child sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell threatened Virginia Giuffre if she testified or cooperated. She says she would be taken care of. Jeffrey at the time was living outside Sydney. A few days later, Jeffrey Epstein called to hear from Jeffrey directly that she wouldn't be speaking to anyone. Virginia Jeffrey committed suicide in early 2025 under mysterious conditions. And yeah, I think she was first in like some terrible accident and was supposedly in pain, which is officially why she committed the suicide. But I'd ask, how did she end up in the accident? So in 2007, Miss Maxwell called, I guess this is Jeffrey, who was living outside of Sydney. Miss Maxwell told that Mr. Epstein was being investigated, and if I guess Jeffrey refused to cooperate, she'd be taken care of. Told Miss Maxwell that she wouldn't speak to anyone. So yeah, Jeffrey told she wouldn't speak to anyone. She declined compensation. A few days later, Mr. Epstein and his lawyer called to hear directly from her that she wouldn't be speaking to anyone. Yeah, so this is her when she was much younger. This is, of course, the Prince Andrew, or former prince. So yeah, and clearly the files are hoax because this guy have to relinquish his royal title in UK because it's a nothing burger. Okay, Bannon promised to send Epstein somewhere beyond extradition. Uh, Message: if either one of us in different investigations will need to testify publicly, it would be preferred to do it with two nostrils instead of one. Okay. Is there some significance to this expression? You don't have to worry personally because I'm sending you somewhere beyond extradition. So this is, I guess, Bannon to Epstein. So of course this could mean that having him offed or sending him, I don't know, to the hollow earth or wherever. Message Faust, what? A message, as I didn't think you meant paradise. So hell instead of. So I don't know, is it a threat or is it like promise that I'll take care of you? Which is it? Somebody should ask Bannon about it. I assume it's Steve Bannon, right? Whatever, the Breitbart guy, right? Bannon was working Epstein to see what he had on Trump. Lots of chatter, but no real dirt. Steve Bannon should be served with another congressional subpoena. A lot of explaining to give. Yeah. Leaked emails show Trump and Epstein celebrating Thanksgiving together in 2017 during his first term after the infamous plea deal after Trump said he cut Epstein off. Faith case, who else is down there? Epstein, David Fizell, Hanson, Trump. Hanson, like that, bop, bop, ba bop, those Hansons? Or the Hanson brothers from the movie Slapshot? So fun, where are you back in New York? Faith, Kate. It's not Kate Hikes though. So all week said Jeffrey, Kate's okay. Dylan, I want to see you. I always want to see you where you having Thanksgiving. Eva, like Evangelion. Zangoku na tenshi no yoni. Jeffrey Epstein, Barry's Color for Friday. He's such a snooze. Who else is down there? David Frizzell, Hanson, Trump. Okay. 2017. So yeah, when Trump was president. Of course, it could be some other Trump. Donald Trump isn't the only Trump in the world, but still. And of course, he could be lying. And another meme: Guardians of pedophiles, Trump and. So who's there? Pam Bondi. Not gonna listen to the music. So there's Pam Bondi, JD Vance, and Cash App PayPal. And this is the Speaker of the House. Johnson was his name. Yeah, it's a bit lame doing this, Disney Marvel stuff, but it's good that people are, making memes because it's not wrong. They didn't seem to be guardians of pedophiles, so it's accurate. So yeah, this U.S. envoy John Barak, who told Lebanese people they behave like animals, has been confirmed as a pedophile. I guess it's uh, the email I showed earlier about Epstein asking him to send photo of you with a child. It's not necessarily means, but it does suggest something like that. So do push-ups every time a Zionist turns out to be a pedo. Day one is buffed, bruh. Yeah. CIA officer Robert David Steele. Jeffrey Epstein has every major US politician on video doing something terrible. So why isn't the CIA doing something about it? Like, why is nobody doing anything about it? It's like everybody who isn't a complete normie NPC knows about it, but nobody does anything about it. Wonder why. And Chelsea Gabbard says, beginning today at POTUS direction, records related to Amelia Earhart's final flight and disappearance 88 years ago. Ooh, 88. So that's why they waited so many years ago will be declassified and shared with the American people. Like, okay, this is sort of interesting. Like, and why were the files classified so long? It's about Amelia Earhart's disappearance because she was like, some female pilot who disappeared on her voyage 88 years ago. If you don't know anything about Amelia Earhart, there's even like a Star Trek Voyager episode where she's appears that she was abducted by aliens and taken to the Delta Quadrant and stuff like that. But so yeah, now it just seems like it's a distraction from this one. Release the E files. Earhart, yeah, not Epstein files. That's how it smells like. That it's coming out now. And Nick Fuentes on Jeffrey Epstein. He was probably the coolest guy in town. You're telling me you like Jeffrey? Are they all 18? So yeah, he's saying like, of course you're gonna go to Jeffrey Epstein's party. He has all the prettiest girls and stuff. Like like who would resist?
Here's the thing. Everybody would say, I would never go. Me, Epstein Island? I would never. And it's like, dude, you're telling me. Jeffrey Epstein was probably so cool. Like, he was probably the coolest guy you know. You're telling me the coolest guy you know who knows everybody says, hey, we're going to go on my private jet to my private island. We got hot girls. He doesn't tell you how old they are.
See, I think this is very hollow coming from him of all people saying that. Like maybe if somebody has said it, it would land better. But like he's a homosexual. He's a rich and famous homosexual, and I don't think he's ugly. So I'm pretty sure there would be many women interested in having a relationship with him. Like he's notorious, but he's dangerous. So he is short, and that is a big minus when it comes to women. But I'm sure there are still people who like women who be able to look past that. But as far as I know, he's never had a girlfriend or anything like that. Uh, that's just like that. He's if he's not gay, he's something worse. Let's just say put it like that. So yeah, it's nice of you to try to LARP as a normal straight guy, but doesn't really work. Um, yeah. Here was this. Tucker Carlson announces he's releasing evidence tomorrow proving that the FBI is lying about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania by Thomas Crooks. So that's when they, shot Donald Trump in the ear. Joe Rogan and Elon Musk pointed out the insane inconsistencies. The assassin's house was professionally scrubbed. His home was scrubbed so well there wasn't even silverware left in the home. No footprint on the internet. No social media footprint, completely wiped. He was in a BlackRock commercial. Joe Rogan says some individuals inside BlackRock may have been recognized that it's beneficial to them if he gets assassinated. There was never a formal report. There was never press conferences where they detailed all the information they now currently and where the investigation stands at the moment. He was a very young kid, young G kid, I guess that's a typo, where there was a rangefinder used to measure distances, very suspicious. CNN streamed it live, which Joe Rogan does not believe they did for any other rally, and certainly not for a rally that's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. They wouldn't let people be on that roof because the Secret Service lady said that it was sloped and it was dangerous. The snipers were on the other roof was a steeper pitch. It made no fucking sense. Random people saw him and pointed him out on the roof with a gun. For a long time before it happened, the kid had five phones. His body was immediately cremated. There was some indications that there was a phone that had been traveling from outside the FBI offices in DC where this kid lived multiple times. We need answers. And yeah, and Donald Trump doesn't seem very interested in finding out the truth, or at least, or maybe he knows, maybe he ordered a full investigation on it, but he's not making it public. So yeah, it does implicate, and it. I think we should re-raise the question that many leftists did back in the day, or the allegation that was the shooting fake. Like, was it just to basically bolster Trump's image? Um, Back then, the leftists, they did it basically because they just hated Trump. But it's like I said back in the day, like, it's I don't think it's a bad idea to ask the question. Like, I still don't know, but it's like it's very sus. Now, it is possible that they did actually try to have Trump shot, and Trump knows that, and maybe he actually did get lucky that the bullet missed. But maybe now Trump is sort of like, instead of cracking down on the people who tried to have him killed, maybe he made a deal like, okay, okay, I'll play along with me, so no more bullets in my brain, thank you. That's possible. Thomas Massey breaks down on how Jeffrey Epstein built a system designed to trap underage girls and shut them up. He says Epstein will lure girls as young as 14 with quick cash massage offers only for it to turn sexual, then he'd use shame and fear to keep them coming back on command. Girls were pushed into recruiting other girls just to escape the abuse, locking them into a cycle that left them feeling guilty, responsible, and scared to ever speak. Sounds very reasonable. I do think this is how other people in this kind of business do it. Once they hit the age of consent, Epstein handed them off to powerful, wealthy men who could bury police reports, buy off judges, pay families to keep quiet. Today, those same men can destroy anyone who speaks out with defamation lawsuits designed to bankrupt them. Massey says that's the real reason silence continues and why Epstein's full network is still hidden. I guess, well, part of the reason. And Massey says the president has been saying this is a hoax. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax. So if they have ongoing investigations, those documents can be released. So this might be a bit smokescreen to prevent the release of the Epstein files. Interesting point. And Massey says he just exposed a hidden Epstein list and called out Kash Patel for lying to the American people. Massey says the FBI is sitting on files that name 20 other men tied to Epstein's sex trafficking operation, including a high-profile government official. They had this list the whole time. The cover-up is collapsing. Release the names now. Okay. Oh, and there's this Eliyahu Weinstein, a convicted Ponzi schemer whose 24-year sentence was commuted by President Trump in 2021, has now been sentenced to 37 years in prison for a new 41 million fraud scheme targeting more than 150 investors. And just look at the small hat. If the name didn't tip you off. But yet, Trump is saving Israel for last or something like, oh, come on. Yeah, so Trump set him free, then he stole 41 million more. $41 million more. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, Trump is doing his best to make Joe Biden look like a good president. And there's this Magic the Gathering, Marjorie Taylor and Taylor Greene. I am now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me for being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. Well, that's not true because she's talking about Trump, but he's not the most powerful man in the world. The man I supported and helped to get elected, aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who were radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed against me right now. This time by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. Now I have a small understanding of the fear and pressure the women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of whom are paid, this is completely shocking and to everyone. My phone is blowing up with constant, amazing support. I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Our country is worth saving, and it can only be done if we pull together and save ourselves. So Syrian girl says, Mossad Epstein has dirt on him. You are walking the righteous path. Yeah, and I'm still, I wouldn't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene completely either, but like, if she is not taking money from APAC and Trump is attacking her, she must be doing something right. So yeah, I'll be voting no on the Epstein hoax. The Democrats are using Epstein hoax to distract us from the winning of the President Trump and his administration. So Trump said, now the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, not the Republicans, to try and deflect from the disastrous shutdown and all of the other failures. Is the government still shut down? Did they open it already? I will be asking AG Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots, the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, JP Morgan Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. This is another Russia scam with all arrows pointing to Democrats. Records show that these men and many others spend large portion of their time with Epstein on his island. Stay tuned. So Marjorie Taylor Greene says the ratio on this post should serve as the ultimate warning to all my Republican colleagues. You vote no on Tuesday to release the Epstein files and face a severe outrage from America. Republicans don't have support from women, and this right here is a perfect example of why. Yeah. Okay. And Marjorie Taylor Greene goes there. When asked why she tagged APAC in a post questioning who's President Trump to keep Epstein files hidden, she didn't back off. We saw Epstein ties to Ehud Barak, business deals involving the Israeli government, and what seems to have led into their intel agencies. The right question to ask is, was Jeffrey Epstein working for Israel? Well, it's not really a question anymore. Pressed by Dana Bash on whether she's accusing Israel of pushing Trump to cover up the files, MTG replied, no, I simply asked, is a foreign government pushing to keep this covered up? I'm questioning that government in particular. She adds she's proud not to take money from APAC or any special group of people. This is an unprecedented moment. A sitting Republican congresswoman openly linking Epstein, Israel, and APAC influence on national television. So finally, like a politician who is pointing out the obvious. Stop the presses. It's so sad. This is the state of affairs. People don't build enough oubliettes. Was this Sean King saying, this is the most important thing I've written this month. So what is this? Trump turns on Marjorie Taylor Greene as she stands against Israel and demands the Epstein files be released. I applaud her courage. It's rare. Jake Shield says, we have reached a strange time where Sean Keane is endorsing Marjorie Taylor Greene. Regardless of how you feel about this, is a battle for the very heart and soul of America. Yeah, not just America, the freaking world, because America is still, in some sense, the most powerful nation on earth. So, who controls America controls Iraqis or something. So Thomas Massey, I'm appearing on This Week ABC to talk about the success of the Epstein files discharge petition. Tune in. We are forcing a recorded vote in the House on releasing Epstein files. Victims deserve justice and Americans deserve transparency. So, what was this like? If he's doing the investigation into it, is it now blocking this from happening, or how does it work? Which one came first? Investigation. This is the 16th at 10:58 p.m. So okay, so this was written first. So maybe now they are doing the investigation into it, so they cannot release the files. But like, how does anybody support Trump at this point unless they are actual pedophiles or something, or pedophile defenders? Like, does anybody in his, MAGA base support him at this point? Like, he's completely flip flop on this issue and is defending the people he was supposed to put in jail. Okay. And yeah, Tucker Carlson is exposing the FBI and DOJ's lies about Donald Trump's would-be assassin Thomas Crooks. So yeah, I don't know all the stuff he said about that yet. Donald Trump commuted the sentence of Eliyahu Weinstein. Yeah, this is, I already mentioned it in the other post. He was accused of leading a Ponzi scheme for millions. He was just sentenced again for 37 years in prison for stealing 40 million, or was it $41 million from his clients. So another Weinstein pardon. It's legal for Jews to rape your kids and steal your money. Yeah, sort of hard to deny. Tim Burgess says Thomas Crooks was groomed by CIA and MK Ultra style mind control programs for the sole purpose of taking out President Trump in Butler, PA. It's possible, but I sort of question, like, was he anything more than a patsy in the incident? And Clint Russell says, holy shit, if he has proof of this, he needs to release it immediately before they whack him. Foundering asks, can you imagine getting shot in a blatant conspiracy and then becoming president and not getting to the bottom of it? Exactly. It's like, what the fuck is Trump doing? He's like, he seems to be less in control than Biden was. MAGA is dead. Trump just issued a formal letter recommending the pardon of Benjamin Netanyahu. Buy guns and lots of ammo. And I'm gonna read the whole letter. And new video emerges showing muzzle flash from helicopter overhead during the Las Vegas shooting that claimed 60 lives and injured 413 others. So on October 1st, 2017, the official narrative states that a 64-year-old Stephen Paddock unleashed horror from his 32nd floor suite at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, firing over 1,000 rounds into the crowd at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival on Las Vegas Strip. Yeah, I do remember this incident quite well. Not all the details anymore, but yeah, there were lots of questions about this. And one, let's say, alternative timeline or story was that there was some like Saudi prince there, and it has something to do with him, and somebody will try to assassinate him. Anyway, 60 individuals perished, at least 430 were injured, wounded by gunfire, and the ensuing chaos elevated the total injured to approximately 867. An hour later, Paddock was discovered deceased in his room of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. To this day, his motive remains officially undetermined, yet profound inconsistencies have long shadowed this account. Discrepancies echoed in the harrowing testimonies of survivors. Eyewitnesses described the gunfire erupting from multiple directions, including bursts that seemed to rain from above. Reports of helicopters circling ominously over the venue fueled early suspicions of coordinated involvement beyond a lone gunman. For years, these claims were dismissed as chaos induced confusion, lacking irrefutable visual proof. That changes today. A newly surfaced video angle captured from a vantage point amid the pandemonium appears to show the unmistakable muzzle flashes emanating from a helicopter. Okay, so it's here. Helicopter hovering directly above the terrified concertgoers. The rhythmic bursts aligned precisely with the onslaught most lethal volleys, casting grave doubt on the isolated shooter theory, suggesting a far more orchestrated operation. This footage demands immediate scrutiny from independent investigators. Was the Mandalay Bay purge merely a diversion? Who piloted the aircraft? And under whose orders? Share this widely. The truth cannot be suppressed when the evidence illuminates the shadows. Okay, this is crazy. It's like there's a fucking helicopter firing on a huge crowd of people in a concert, and this was suppressed. Like, who the fuck? What was going on? Was it some weird sacrifice, some mafia hit, or what? Like, maybe there was one guy in the crowd they really wanted to kill, and they were willing to, sacrifice hundreds potentially to just to get one guy, or what was going on? I don't know. Thomas Massey says President Trump flipped on releasing the Epstein files for two key reasons. First, he claims Trump doesn't want to embarrass his rich and powerful friends who may be tied to Epstein for personal scandals. Second, Massey hints that some officials may have convinced Trump he was protecting his friends when they were really protecting intelligence interests. And third would be, of course, Bubba, that he doesn't want us to know who Bubba is and why he sucked him off. He also points to Epstein's close ties with former Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak as part of the reason Israel may be shielded from scrutiny. All right, what's this? I have to reload some of these. And Hitler wouldn't have done this to us, so what wouldn't he have done? Trump says 600,000 Chinese students coming to US is a pro-MAGA stance because you would have half the colleges in United States go out of business. Wouldn't that be great news if colleges go out of business? I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else. Now Trump says that H-1B immigrants are necessary since there are not plenty of talented Americans. We have Laura says, I guess the interviewer, we have plenty of talented people here. No, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents. You have to. People have to learn. Okay, then let the people learn. It's like, yeah, Hitler wouldn't have done this. I'm pretty sure. Okay, but finally we can go from Trump and U.S. politics, while it's still somewhat US and politics related, but it's almost been an hour with this Epstein stuff. And so let's go to chemtrails. Chemtrails are being finally exposed, you know. So yeah, here is our planes flying around. Somebody said it's crop dusting. I guess if it is, that, why else would the planes be flying in those patterns if they're not spreading something? But like, surely it can be verified whether they were like crop dusting planes, and also are there fields in those locations where they're flying, or what are those planes to begin with? These numbers, like the designation numbers. Who owns the planes? Do you suppose this one does? Yeah, turns people game. That's what I said. Because I've reported, like, at least that's one good thing about the current U.S. administration. They seem to be for some reason admitting that chemtrails and geoengineering are a thing. An elephant in the sky. Lead researcher Dane Wiginton of Geoengineering Watch just dropped a bombshell on national TV. This isn't jet exhaust, it's sprayed particle dispersion. We tested it, we found climate engineering elements. He says governments are manipulating weather patterns under the banner of climate control, spraying reflective particles from aircraft while denying it publicly. I don't think it's like officially it might be climate control, like against global warming, whatever that bullshit. But I think they know better. So what's the real purpose for spreading the sky with this like barium, strontium, whatever stuff there are? So Florida and Tennessee have already passed laws banning geoengineering, and more states are moving fast. The bottom line is this is truly an elephant in the sky that people can decipher. That's something is obviously going on. Whatever you believe, the skies don't lie. Something massive is unfolding above our heads. Yeah. And we were told crazy and take our meds, but like now it's finally coming out, sort of. Chemtrails, just like vaccines, poison and massive denial. Chemtrails are very real. We've been poisoned for decades. This needs to be shared. So see, I'm not saying this is necessarily to poison us. It's a long video. Let's look
It
at a
was
little bit of
mocked
it.
by the legacy. We've been following for you. No one else is talking about this, but we are. Have you ever looked up at the sky and noticed exhaust trails spread out in all different directions? The media want the public to believe that this is all made up, that weather engineering, or chemtrails, as they are commonly called, are just some conspiracy theory, to the point where when you Google this, the very first thing that appears is a Wikipedia page titled Chemtrail Conspiracy Theory. It's a conspiracy theory, apparently. But if it really is just a conspiracy, then why have multiple states passed laws banning it? Florida passed a bill banning all weather engineering over the skies just a month ago. And when Tennessee passed a similar bill over the summer, the state was mocked by the legacy media. NBC running this headline: Tennessee lawmakers vote to ban geoengineering with allusions to chemtrail.
Now that's good if the states are banning these practices, but I think both of these topics are just discussed, both the Epstein files and all that stuff, and chemtrails. They're proof that the current way of doing government in the world is not working, because most people are completely still clueless about these very relevant matters that impact our lives and change the course of history. They would rather attack you when pointing out these details than actually try to figure out what's going on and how to end it. I suppose because either people are just willingly very ignorant and they should not have power, or they're just malicious and evil people, and neither should be in charge. Okay, what's this? This is probably different. No, this is, yeah, this is still chemtrail stuff. Tucker Carlson asks, what are these lines in the sky that we have seen? Aluminum nanoparticles. We took a flying laboratory. No longer a conspiracy. No longer a conspiracy theory. We are being sprayed like bugs. But this, I made a whole fucking video talking about this. Like, you cannot say, like, died suddenly should know better. It's still a conspiracy. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. So chemtrails no longer a conspiracy theory. Chemtrails are neither, on Trump's face. RFK Jr. just confirmed who is behind this crime against humanity. RFK Jr. stunned the audience when during an interview with Dr. Phil, he was asked about toxic aerosols being sprayed over us every day. My biggest concern is the stratospheric aerosol injections that are continuously peppered on us every day. Chromium, aluminum, strontium. Yeah, these are the. I've been hearing this for like, almost 2 decades, that this is what chemtrails are. It's sprayed in our skies all day long. And I know you talked to Dane Vigington about this. He seems to be one of the experts in the field. How do we stop it? She asked. RFK Jr., this is not in my agency. We don't do that. It's done, we think, by DARPA. Damn, DARPA chief. Small tangent, but like, back in the day in the 90s when I played Metal Gear Solid, and one of the characters is DARPA chief you're supposed to save or something. I was like, what the fuck is DARPA? Because I don't think the game ever explains what is DARPA. That's the first time I heard the name. But it's the, weapons development division of US military or something. Don't remember what it. A defense advancement research prick agency. Anyway, the Pentagon's secretive tech arm, best known for creating experimental weapons and surveillance tools, might be behind what's being sprayed in our skies. According to RFK Jr., it's not just hypothetical, and a lot of it is coming out of the jet fuel. You know, those materials are put in jet fuel. I'm going to do everything in my power to stop it. We're bringing in somebody who's going to think about that, only about that, find out who's doing it and holding them accountable. Finally, after years of being called conspiracy theories about this, our concerns are being validated and confirmed. This is really great news. Yeah. And I'm sus. Like, why is it coming out now? Like, maybe they've come up with something even worse to do the same thing. That's why they are allowing this practice to be shelved. And maybe I'm just pessimistic and paranoid, but it's not all that bad. But let's move on. So we have a little bit stuff about Charlie Kirk. Well, this is more like Erica Kirk and about aeroplanes, so it's sort of related. Um, so Candice Owens believes the unusual Egyptian planes were actually tracking Erica Kirk and not Charlie. Egyptian plane overlapped with Erica's flight travels about 70 times in the past few years. That is a 0.000.1% chance. This is actually mind blowing. So this is the first time I heard about this. So apparently there's some Egyptian plane, like Egyptian military plane, who is usually in the same location. Like at first, Candice Owens thought it was tracking Charlie Kirk, but apparently it matches the location of Erica Kirk better. So this one. So what the actual hell? This is big. An Egyptian intelligence aircraft has been tracking Eric Lane, France should be Francois, right? Kirk movements across 70 plus documented flights around the world. Following and tracking Erica, Miss Erica Kirk, even before she even met Charlie. Why? It begs the only question that matters. Why the hell is a foreign intelligence aircraft shadowing her across the globe? I already know, maybe. So yeah, Egyptian government, Egypt Air Force. Like, why is this? Why are Egyptian Air Force planes allowed to fly in America and stuff? I'm perplexed. Like somebody said, because her Erica Kirk's dad works for Raytheon and stuff, that it means that it's for her defense. Is there anybody else who has this sort of like a plane following them where they go? Like it could be like her for her protection rather, like so she's not kidnapped or something. But this is weird. Like this is something I just heard, I think today. What does Grok say? Speculation. Erica's travels, possibly tied to her fashion business or personal networks, might intersect with Egyptian intelligence priorities in the Middle East, like monitoring US influences in unstable regions. If deliberate, it could signal her discreet involvement in cultural or aid efforts, drawing scrutiny separate from Charlie's overt activism. Coincidence via flight data overlaps. It's likeliest without verified intent. Egypt tracks many foreign movements for security. Acknowledge US airspace overlaps imply localized monitoring, not just overseas ops. Egyptian planes here could tie to diplomatic or flights, joint training, or intel and US figures with indirect regional ties, like Erica's fashion business sourcing materials from Mideast suppliers. Coincidental proximity in crowded skies remains probable without intent evidence from transporters or many. It sounds like BS, but I don't know. It's like more than 70. Like I guess like how do they like correspond like Erica Kirk's travels and Egyptian planes? Like is it always like following her plane or what? Or is it just in the same city during the same day or what? But it's weird. Okay, my theory is that Erika Kirk is actually an alien, and she has like a, I don't know, particle accelerator in her head, and they have to have this, particle stabilizer machine that is huge, like in the general area, like, let's say within the same city of her most of the time, or the particle accelerator is going to explode. So they have the stabilizer in this airplane, and that's why it's always following Erika Kirk, because I don't know what the fuck is going on. I doubt it's just about fashion business, though. Um, let's go to Germany. So yeah, that plain business is weird. So the German banks are freezing AfD Alternative für Deutschland accounts. Oh, I got a message on my chat. Alabama John said he wants to talk to you. He's also live on Rumble. Okay. I recall I've gotten a message like this long time ago on YouTube or something. So who is Alabama John? Why does he want to talk to me? I don't know, but it's like sounds like some spam, but maybe it's legit. I don't know. Let's continue with the news though. So German banks freeze AfD accounts in escalating crackdown on dissent. Multiple German banks are shutting down accounts linked to AfD. Oh, shutting down bank accounts. That's how the global establishments like to do it. And now the country's largest opposition party. I had to be quiet because my wife went to our son's room and he's sleeping, so not to be too loud. Anyways, the opposition party, without explanation, citing banking secrecy. AfD leaders call it political debanking, a financial weapon to punish opposition to illegal immigration and defense of traditional values. This isn't isolated from Berlin to Dusseldorf. Accounts are vanishing, including party donation and personal banking for elected officials. Behind it all, Germany's intelligence service labeled AfD far-right for challenging gender ideology and open border policies, effectively criminalizing dissent. When democracy means freezing your opponent's bank accounts, maybe it's not democracy anymore. Yeah, it's just why has Europe gotten to this point? Nietzsche tried to warn us, literally, not even memeing. Um, Germany is reinstating mandatory conscription. All 18-year-old men are required to report for military examination. If there are not enough volunteers, a lottery will decide who is drafted, reports Bild. So yeah, go die for Israel. 18-year-old men must undergo medical examination. If volunteers are insufficient, a lottery will be activated for conscription purposes. Women will also receive a questionnaire to determine their potential readiness for military service. Germany plans to increase the army to 260,000 active personnel and 200,000 reservists. Mandatory service will last 6 months, half of which will be basic training. Volunteers are expected to be paid about 2,600 per month. Well, that's not too bad. And contracts of 1 year or more will grant citizens the status of fixed term, so contract soldier and professional military salary. But it's still not enough to be dying for a foreign nation. But here the community note says Germany hasn't reinstated mandatory conscription yet. Only a framework was agreed upon. Specific details about mandatory examinations and lottery drafts remain unfinalized and unimplemented. So it hasn't happened yet, but they are heading that way, apparently. So clearly, the Western establishment is preparing us for a war, whether it's against Russia, China, or I don't know, space aliens. I don't know yet, but they are preparing for a war. Oh, okay. Then we go from Germany to China. So a bridge collapsed in China. the Hongqi Ridge bridge collapses in southern China in Sichuan province, I think, months after opening. So yeah, I think it opened like in April, and officially it's a landslide. So it opened in April, but it collapsed well this month. So this incompetence, like there's some Chinese defender account saying like, well, it's a landslide, nothing you can do, but it's clearly like the engineer. So this isn't the right bridge. So this is um, disinfo. I think it's a different bridge. Yeah, the construction video of a suspension bridge shows the now completed Huaqiang Canyon Bridge. Yeah, this is different. That's not the one that's collapsed. Holy smokes! But it's clearly on some kind of incompetence, unless it's like sabotage or something. Yeah, China, great man. It's like I really sick of those. You see people fellating China because they show Chinese cities with fancy shiny buildings like skyscrapers and stuff. Is okay. Yeah, it proves that China isn't completely incompetent. They're not living in mud huts, but that's not really progress. Like start do something better. It's just like, okay, they have money, they have industry, whatever. But let's move on. What's next? What do we have next? Okay, it was chat control. So the EU chat control stuff is not dead. I was expecting it to resurface, but not so quickly, because it did die like a month ago or something, but now it's coming back. EU Council appears ready to approve chat control. They're trying to pass an even more far-reaching chat control law through the back door in a form even more intrusive than the originally rejected plan, without needing any EU countries' votes. Like what? Okay, so what can people do about it except build lots of oubliettes and put every politician and bureaucrat that was behind this into an oubliette? Maybe that's the solution there. Ridiculous. Okay, this is from UK. Seeing a shop today. What a joke of a country Britain has become. So yeah, no sharp edges or sharp tips in knives, because clearly that's gonna prevent the violence. That's addressing the root of the issue. Like, cannot be stabbed with a knife with not any stabbing blade. Like, how can violent criminals of diverse background kill people if they cannot stab? I wonder if they will invent another way. And Ireland takes the first swing at X in Europe's war on words. The investigation into X exposes how Europe's new speech laws let regulators decide which voices get to exist online. Yeah, Europe is a joke, unfortunately. Oh, I guess I can reload this one as well. And Swiss surveillance could become worse than in the US if passed. Chat, email, and VPN providers from Switzerland must log IP addresses, ask for ID upon sign up, decrypt data upon request. The Swiss Bundesrat, yeah, rat indeed, is still discussing this bill. A decision will likely be made in 2026. Depressing. And UK roads are made narrower to reduce the safety risk posed to cyclists. So current lane is 15 feet, and this is 10 feet 8 inches. So I'm pretty sure they're not doing it to um, to protect cyclists. There's gonna be a different reason, like I don't know, some cheapskater. Yeah, just making, taking out your Lebensraum. That's basically it. I live in Hong Kong. There's very little Lebensraum here, and this isn't the direction we should be taking. We should be gaining more Lebensraum. But that's not the final story of the week, though. I have to just change um, browsers because it's too full. So now we go to not North Korea, South Korea, but South Korea is starting to look more like North Korea. So let's see why that is. What are they doing? So left-wing South Korean President Lee Jae-myung goes full Britain, or well, yeah, says he will arrest anyone posting anti-immigration views on social media as hate speech and a threat to democracy. It's dark day for free speech in South Korea. So yeah, it's becoming impossible to argue that South Korea is better than North Korea in any way, because at least North Korea is not importing third world immigrants. They don't have feminism, stuff like that. So it's just becoming objectively better to be in North Korea. And it's not like I think that North Korea is some paradise, but it still seems to be less bad than South Korea. And I have lived in South Korea as well for a while. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, and the previous president, he did do the martial law thingy, and then he was forced to resign, as is the case in pretty much like expected in South Korean politics. But maybe if he'd succeeded in the what he tried to accomplish in the martial law stuff, maybe things would be better. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, who recently made headlines for going after free speech in the country, is being labeled South Korean Hillary Clinton. 5 people who worked for him have committed suicide from 2021 through 2023. All were involved in scandals that could have ended his political career. They all magically took their own lives. Such a joke of a country. It's not just Europe that's a joke. It's also South Korea is a joke. And, I do understand why they have the, clown world meme. And it's more interesting when you think about if you don't know the lore about, allegation that Nephilims looked like clowns. So I guess we are still run in a world run by Nephilim. And then in Japan, Japanese communist leader Tomoko Tamura admits that her ultimate goal is to erase Japan from existence to accomplish John Lennon's Imagine. Goddamn boomers, or spiritual boomers. And meanwhile, in the Japanese legislature, Japan is not an independent country, it is a colony of the United States.
主権国家なわけないじゃないですか。植民地なんですよ。残念ながら今の日本は植民地、私はそう考えています。大臣はこの国は植民地だと思われますか？
主権国家でございます。
もちろん主権国家という体をしていますけれども、じゃあどうして北方領土帰ってこないんですかって話ですよ。
Should I? Maybe I'll read them out loud. The subtitle. Japan is not an independent country. It's a colony of the US. I'm afraid that Japan today, in my views, is essentially a colony. Prime Minister, do you think this country is a colony? She says it's a sovereign nation, so she disagrees. Of course, it presents itself as a sovereign nation, but in this case, why haven't the northern territories been returned? So Hokkaido, these islands, and yes, Sakhalin, half of the island. Why won't they be returned? Russia refuses to return the territories because it fears that the US military would place a base there. Good point, I guess. If the islands were handed back, right? Russia asked Japan to promise that it would not allow US bases on the islands. But Japan declined. That's why they haven't been returned. Interesting. I haven't heard that particular argument before. If Japan cannot make decisions about its own territory without needing approval of the United States, then it cannot truly be called a sovereign nation. It's a colony of the United States. Via military exercises that are not even permitted within the US, allowed in Japan. Ultra low altitude flights, various other activities, why are they possible here? I think these are very good questions. He is because it's treated like a colony. Yeah, I've been saying that for a long time, and it's not just Japan. It's South Korea. It's Finland nowadays. We are a NATO nation and stuff. Okay, but let's go from East Asia to Mexico. So Mexico and their puta judía. Oh, sorry, alleged puta. Well, it's not alleged that she's judía. So yeah, Mexico is about to have their own January 6th, and puta judía J-Ho was being spray painted on the National Palace in reference to the first female Jewish president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. So I don't know whether this is a false flag or if it's actually some actual protester, but like, are they wrong? Wait, that's not supposed to be here yet. There should be more. This one, okay. After 37 assassinated opponent candidates, cartel-connected close friend of BlackRock, Larry Fink, Claudia Sheinbaum, was finally elected, and the public is now angry. So yeah, Mexico, okay, it's just response to that. But yeah, of course, when she was elected, was it this year or last year? I don't remember. Time goes so fast. Yeah, 37 political candidates were assassinated by the cartels. There should be one more. There should be one more Mexico story, but I guess we'll find it. But now let's go to the compulsory, the classic. Israel delenda est. Israel has to be destroyed. And of course, I'm talking about the political entity. Without Israel disappearing, we will never have any stability. We have to build oubliettes for the many Israeli manipulators as well, and spiritual Israelis as well, if you catch my drift. Samsung phones embedded with unremovable Israeli spyware. Yeah, I'm not gonna be buying Samsung. So unremovable Israeli spyware found on Samsung devices. Samsung faces backlash over app cloud and Israeli developed app pre-installed on budget Galaxy A and M series devices. Investigations reveal the app is embedded in the operating system, preventing full removal. Even when disabled, app cloud remains on the device, reappears after updates, and can covertly install additional software. Alarming. And yeah, there's this study. Hitler likely had a micro-species Kallman syndrome DNA study finds. Fabric cut from the sofa on which Hitler killed himself contained DNA, which was analyzed to reveal that Hitler likely had a genetic condition that disrupts normal sexual development. So this is like, I grew up believing that Hitler had only one testicle, and I never questioned it until later somebody pointed out it's probably not true, because like I couldn't fathom somebody would lie about it. But now I understand, because Hitler is gaining popularity as of late in the youth and not so youth. I guess you could say across the world. So now they're trying to make like he had a small dick. Don't like the guy, but like yeah, I'm not buying this. So trust this guy. We would never lie to you. Not ever, not once, not 6 million times. Yeah, they wouldn't. Adolf Hitler really did have only one testicle, astonishing new DNA proves. Except it doesn't show that, and Hitler's medical records from the time show that this simply wasn't the case. GB Newslog, yeah. And China plans to ban Samsung phones over embedded with unremovable Israeli spyware, except Committee now says misleading. There is no countrywide ban in China on the various brands mentioned. The Post destroys news from December 2023. Chinese state-affiliated firms and government offices in 8 provinces prohibited employees from using foreign smartphones at work. Okay. And this is dangerous path we're heading down. Sam Altman of OpenAI and all that, and husband fund so gay couple fund startup to edit babies' genes. The OpenAI boss has invested in the controversial startup Preventative, which aims to genetically engineer children free from hereditary diseases. Yeah, especially like, okay, can you genetically engineer away the hereditary disease that turns you gay? Would it fix these guys? Like, especially like, I don't think gay couples should have any say on how to raise babies or have birth them and all that stuff. Or tech millionaire. Why is it always like the tech millionaires who are playing with life, like Bill Gates playing with medical stuff, vaccines, buying out farmland? Why? The president of the World Jewish Congress, Ronald Lauder, is calling for new censorship laws in schools across the United States to combat anti-Semitism. He says anti-Semitism often stems from the false idea spread by big names claiming lies that Jews control the government, the media, or foreign policy. We must retake our schools. Yeah, when they shut down anybody saying that Jews control things, that's gonna prove that Jews don't control things. That's how it works. And the Jew says that don't let us, don't say that we control things. So yeah, there was this. So we urgently need to develop a legal defense association. We should all be paying in, and we should have our lawyers working full time on both offense and defense. In the meantime, we need to help guys like Patrick and Elijah who are being persecuted by our enemies. So there's this. Yeah, they heckled some Jewish guy, and they're being sued. And Orwell is here trying to develop a legal defense. So I think that's noble cause. Unlike most right-wing grifters like Fuentes or something who don't really do anything to help people, he's at least trying, or seems like it. And Dasha Nekrasova has been fired by her talent agency Gersh following a podcast interview with Nick Fuentes. She's also been dropped from her upcoming film Iconoclast. Jews don't control anything. Zelensky's right-man hand stole 100 million of public funds and fled to Israel. He spent the money on a lavish lifestyle, including a golden toilet. No, this isn't anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. It's front-page news. While Ukrainians die, Washington backed Jews party. This is the only place I've heard this news, though, so it's not front-page news. The scandal that could bring down Volodymyr Zelensky. But I hear my son waking up. I'll be right back. Right, we are back. We are back. Hehe. All right. So apparently Grok is no longer translating Hebrew messages. So according to Grok, Jews call for violence so frequently that the X disabled Hebrew translations to prevent normies from seeing what they say. Yeah, basically. Translation from Hebrew was disabled because it often amplified inflammatory or policy violating content like calls for violence. Yeah, that's basically. I've heard this from multiple sources or many reports on this. And this is interesting from Alex Jones. Benjamin Netanyahu says that Israel is still at war with Rome and that America is the new Roman Empire. See, I've been saying that Carthage never died. Carthago delenda est, Israel delenda est. Many conservative rabbis publicly admit that Israel is seeking. See, I think my personal theory is that after Carthage was destroyed, or quote unquote destroyed, they migrated to the Middle East, and that's how it became the Holy Land, quote unquote. So many conservative rabbis publicly admit that Israel is seeking revenge against the Roman Empire for General Titus's destruction of the Second Temple back in 70 AD. Yeah, so that's one reason why they seem to be hating on white people and Europe and all that stuff. They're insane and evil. And also Rome was based, not saying that everything Rome did was perfect, but Rome was based. So yeah, they don't want you to think about your heritage, but they're obsessing over something that happened 2000 years ago. So you should pay attention and act accordingly. Yes, from the US Department of Justice, Jews, despite being the lowest in population, commit the most white-collar crimes like fraud, embezzlement, insider trading, money laundering, briberies, cyber scams, etc. Jewish crimes are then entered as white crimes in the statistical data. They often escape their crimes and take a one-way flight to Israel, but if by any chance they are captured and go to prison, they are placed in a special prison with a fully kosher kitchen and receive special amenities reserved for Jews. They even live as if it's a five-star hotel. Yeah. Let's just try to go quickly. Oh, okay, this is the wrong place. Gen Z is rising up in Mexico because they are the first generation to have access to enough information to know that their entire government works for the cartels. Not just the cartels, but for, well, who is their president? Scheinbaum. I think the cartels work for her, and she works for Carthage. Asmongold is waking up. It's a thunderbolt. I wonder why. Christians and Muslims killed themselves for Jerusalem and now the Jews have it. It's crazy. Who said the Pope can do crusades? Okay, let's listen.
Flank and bought its eastern flank another 300.
Who's controlling Jerusalem right now? I actually don't even know. Who's controlling it?
Israel.
So the Muslims and the Christians fought over this, and neither of them have this. Israel has the Jewish people have it now? Is that right? So all this was for fucking nothing. Wow. The Muslims and the Christians fucking fought and killed each other over Jerusalem, and now the Jews have it. Neither of us have it. It's the Jews that have it now. That's crazy. Yeah, who decided that the Pope can't do crusades anymore? Like, theoretically, you could have another crusade.
Yeah, I'd support a crusade for Israel. I'm not even a Christian, but I would support it. Israeli soldiers accused of raping Palestinian detainee receive courthouse round of applause. The Jewish religion in one video, from ancient history until now. Yeah. Whatever they do is justified and whatever we do is bad. That's how they see things. That's why they still blame, for destruction of their temple of Rome and all that stuff. So greetings, peasant. How goes the by the Pope? So just in churches adopt AI-powered chatbots, letting members interact with AI Jesus for confession and spiritual guidance. Churches are not doing this. So this is the commented note. There's one in Switzerland that is using AI for conversation, and the Episcopals in South Dakota have a new AI chatbot called Ask Kathy offers entry-level access to learn more about Episcopal Church. Okay, so this is clickbait. Yeah, this wasn't here before. So apparently the AI Jesus is clickbait, but I'm pretty sure it will happen. So yeah, it is quite heretical. It will happen eventually. Somebody's gonna create it, even if it's not a church. But okay, then let's finally go to gaming and entertainment from Israel del Est. So yeah, we have, this is clearly a Steam machine here. That's the biggest gaming news of the week, pretty much. So let's go there then and have a look. So yeah, I'm sort of torn on the issue of Steam announcing the Steam machine. Like, on one hand, it does seem interesting, and the new controllers seem interesting, but this is from their ad. Girls in the Steam machine promo video. Valve Bros. So yeah, especially this is not very girly. This like, and why this stuff is relevant, of course, is that you know, it's not just by accident they chose people who look like this. And you know, if the priorities of the company is to still pander to this wokeness bullshit, it means that they will care less about making a good functional product. Instead, you know, if they care about this bullshit, then they should also know that gamers, generally speaking, don't like this sort of stuff. So it does, you know, speak of a deeper malaise. So yeah, here are your new video game demographics, bro. So yeah, this is Steam Frame, you know, some AI, I mean, 3D goggle stuff, I guess. I guess if I was like rich, I would like to, like, I once played some 3D goggle game stuff, or I mean virtual, that's the word, virtual crap. But it was surprisingly fun. But you need a, you know, big place to play with them, like, so you don't run into walls and stuff. So yeah, Steam Machine tried and failed back in 2018. Yeah, they had the Steam Link stuff. What's different this time? Success of the Steam Deck, mature Steam OS, better, faster hardware, Xbox One going PC. What else? Yeah, I think it will be, unless it's like, you know, a buggy mess, it's gonna be successful probably. Whether it's super successful, don't know. Valve's Steam page shows 2 upcoming releases. Only one of them, Deadlock, is currently publicly visible. It's happening. So they're of course thinking it might be for Half-Life, not Fallout, Half-Life 3. And completely forgotten about Deadlock. It's still in early development. And Gabe thinks it's morally correct to pirate Nintendo games. That's not exactly what they say, but you know, well, anybody who has any like sense of decency would agree. So it's a PC. So the Steam machine is optimized for gaming, but steal your PC, install your own apps, or even another operating system. Who are we to tell you how to use your computer? Yeah. So that sounds good. Of course, you know, I don't think the price is out yet, like how much it actually will cost. But yeah, here is this. How much would you pay for a Steam machine? I'm interested that it starts with $500. Like, why couldn't they start with 300? Like the, you know, IGN is sort of saying, like, yeah, don't expect it to be less than 500. Like, okay, it probably won't be, but you know, maybe you shouldn't set the bar too high, like the beginning. Because yeah, I guess 500 might be okay if it's good. But yeah, I'm not quite happy with the current state of Steam, because of, like, you know, them banning games due to supposedly payment processors bullying them, and they're just taking it like a bitch. And of course, these ads about brave whatever things of color. Okay. Then we go to Norway. Norwegian man, not Norwegian, was arrested for playing the visual novel Dorei Tono Seikatsu, and faces 3 years in prison for a video game. So it's like you know, lifestyle with a slave or something is the translation of the name. So it's some anime game from like 10 years ago, a visual novel game where you can, I guess, do lewd stuff with the girl, but the guy said he didn't, but he's been arrested. So the report of the game being downloaded was made by an American organization, NCMEC. Why are they reporting shit that's not even illegal in the US? Yeah, very good question. Who is funding them? Is it like, I thought Doge shut down many of these organizations, or maybe it's not. Is it? I think it's taxpayer funded partially. I think somebody said it. So wait a fucking minute, talking still about this. From the text, it says he was sharing not even the scenes of the abuse. So because like the guy, the Norwegian who was arrested first, like he was sharing some sort of lewd images or something, which is why the NCMEC reported him, and then they like took his computer and found the game, and now he's like, first he was facing only 60 days in jail, and but now it's longer because of the game. So anyways, he was not sharing not even the scenes of the abuse, but he was sharing the mode that doesn't have sexualization and abuse, which is famous mod that the community made. So WTF. So yeah, and it's like, there's no victim. It is a victimless crime. That's completely BS. Especially since I have to point it out. The actual politicians are actual pedophiles that rape actual children. But, like, you play a game that has a girl that might be construed as underage, you go to jail. Norwegian man has been arrested over a Japanese-made game. This is truly unfortunate news. This game was released about 10 years ago and has sold over 250,000 copies in Japan and other countries. If this game was dangerous and had a negative impact on society, serious incidents would have occurred by now. And when we cross the line that fiction is fiction, this is the kind of society we become. Japan is one example, but countless countries still maintain this line must work. This line must work hard to preserve it. Okay, this is weird. End of the sentence, whatever. Of course, it's like, it is to find whatever excuse to punish the normal people, while either the immigrants and the politicians can commit crimes, but the regular people, they do something that can be construed as wrong, will be punished. And then Tencent cuts funding to Western studio. And why not? Western AAA devs have become entitled, self-important, pointy, expensive, and unprofitable. Most of the banger games of 2024 were from Asia. They realized they don't need Western AAA. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. I have returned. So yeah, looks like Tencent's turn to start turning off the money forces for Western studios as Bloodhound developer Sharkmob says layoffs are coming. It's like, I guess this is good news, but it's like, I still don't agree, because they're treating Tencent like, it's like the better of two evils or something, and maybe marginally, but it's still, Tencent is Tencent. It's like, I don't know what. I think they should leave the gaming market altogether, because I don't trust Chinese AAA companies either. Maybe they won't be pushing wokeness, but they will be pushing something else that's not so good. Not to say that Chinese indies couldn't make good games or something, but you don't hate Western localizers enough. This is some Chinese game. I think I don't remember the name, but some free to play game on Steam that just came out. Western localized version, so body type 1 and body type 2, but Chinese version is, it says man and woman here. Yeah. Why you do this? Sony cracks down on Concord custom servers, issues DMCA takedowns on gameplay videos. So yeah, like people have yeah, they have custom servers of because I'd be now because of the notoriety of Concord, I'd be interested in playing it and even streaming it. But like, yeah, I might get into trouble if I do it, so I'm not gonna do it, and I don't know where to find a server or anything. But it's like I think the courts should intervene here. Like, if the people, if you know, people cannot buy this game anymore, it doesn't cost Sony anything if people play it, so they should be allowed to pirate it in the way they want and play it and all that stuff, right? Because they sort of wash their hands out of the whole matter. My son came here with a cup and some bread, and he's so happy. And Corpse Party Tetralogy pack cancelled for the West, so I think it's still coming into Japan. So Corpse Party are of course some famous horror games. I haven't played any of them, and I heard at least rumors that it's because of Nintendo America or Nintendo of the West saying that they don't want it or something, because there's minor characters and violence and stuff. Presumably it's something to do with that or other disturbing themes. Yeah. I've been waiting for the games industry to collapse for almost 20 years now, and still hasn't happened. I hope it happens soon. Okay, and additionally, a Japanese game has been halted from release due to violating standards of Nintendo Switch and North American European region. So this is the original post was quoted from the manufacturer of Brave and Junction, along with a comment from the developer saying that they were sad. The photo hints at the reason, but it seems to be the usual unreasonable excuse. Even adult characters were deemed to be children due to their appearance. The manufacturer is currently continuing negotiations, but JP eShop version of Brave and Junction includes the English as well. You can switch between Japanese English from system options. The manufacturer also posted the current solution English translation of the content of the photos provided manufacturer. So magician, so it's these pictures. She's saying here. I never thought a fighter would be deemed to contain child sexual content, but I wonder what the situation will be like after that. Soldier of the Kingdoms on this one. And Magician 2 it has been determined to contain legally problematic sexual content. Magician, huh? What? I'm a child? What kind of judgment is that? So yeah, look at these boobs. Yeah, clearly a child. Like, sure, she has a young face, but I think you could easily argue racism here. Like, it's like the boringest argument ever, but it's like because it's sort of made with Asian standards, and Asian people tend to look much younger than Western people and stuff. And CD Projekt Red hired a Ubisoft director, so they worked in Ubisoft, and now it's CD Projekt Red. So yeah, I guess the Witcher 4 they really want to make it suck. And rumor, Ubisoft has been acquired by somebody. Ubisoft suddenly halted trading of its shares and postponed its earnings. Something is likely happening. Yeah, somebody said that. Well, some say that it's probably Tencent, and somebody said that it would be cool if it was Steam, but I guess we still don't know. Maybe it's Saudi Arabia. I don't know. New look at Matt Damon and Odysseus in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. So yeah, just look at those boring armor. Like, yeah, a lot of people have been complaining that whenever there's a historical movie nowadays, everything is brown and gray, and I hate it. Like, I first noticed it. There was some like King Arthur movie like 20 years ago or so. I don't remember exactly when it came out, and that's when I first noticed it. And then it was just like, okay, like weird curiosity. Like, okay, they went with the dark scene in this movie, but then since then it's become an epidemic that color wasn't invented until like 19 1900 or something, supposedly. And also, like, the director said he liked the like some feminist translation of Iliad, or at least some woman who looks like a feminist. But yeah, ancient Greeks portrayed in 1956 to 2025. Yeah, like, is anybody like? I'm not a historian, so perhaps they were inaccurate, this kind of armor that I'm used to, thinking of the ancient Greeks and Romans wearing something like this. Maybe it's inaccurate. Is this more accurate, or are they just like, brutalism isn't just for buildings, it's also for movies? That's how it looks like to me. Okay, 8 anime studios have closed down and went bankrupt in 2025. This is the third year of an increase of major anime studios closing down. Despite the anime boom that has been happening for the last few years, more people need to be talking about this. So, and somebody's explanation is Dugna is saying is because the boom comes to small amount of series becoming popular, thus making companies think every single anime will be a massive success. Let's put tons of money into these, or let's make stupid expectations because we put it on Crunchyroll or Netflix. Video games and normal movies made the same mistakes before, and you see where they are now. Good example is when putting JoJo on Netflix basically put a black mark on the series that has outlasted so many others. Maybe, just maybe, these companies should stop thinking putting their crap on streaming services will just magically make everything work. The backbone of what made tons of anime work doesn't exist globally, either because of incompetent companies handling the IPs or just that Western countries not having the culture or even support series by buying merch and everything else. These companies need to contract sensibly, cut what they can, and focus on things that actually make them use them money. Shouldn't there be a comma here? Anyway, stop going to random cons and doing thing early viewing. Stop doing all this useless crap. They should also be putting pressure on streaming services to do better, or just make a whole brand new service not controlled by any Western influence and work from there. Again, refocus on the efforts to actually generate revenue and profits that doesn't involve collapsing studios here and there. Yeah, it sounds a bit like, World of Warcraft was popular, so everybody's trying to copy World of Warcraft and not just make an MMO, but like an MMO that is clearly a copy of World of Warcraft. But that's the last news story of the week. So of course, the big question is still that who is Bubba, and why did Trump blow him, and how many times, and all that stuff. But I am Adventure Argonaut. I thank you for watching, and bye bye.